Hello and greetings. Welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. Today, Conversation with Tony Mobley is not simulcast on both YouTube and LinkedIn. It's only on YouTube. And unfortunately, today we are not having our radio listeners either, but they will return soon. I want to say hello to everyone who is listening and watching. Today on Conversation with Tony Mobley, I am talking with Mr. Kenn Jordan, CEO of ElmsPark Consultants. This is episode 101 of Conversations with Tony Mobley. Thanks to everyone for being part of the journey. And about that journey, I just want to share with those who are listening, as Conversation with Tony Mobley has had 100 episodes, we are in transition. We plan to continue Conversation with Tony Mobley, but I want you to stay tuned as we are going to be tweaking and redefining how we share Conversation with Tony Mobley. But for tonight, I want you to go to conversationwithTonyMobley.com, where you can participate in our interactive chat, which is called Mukana, and it is courtesy of Alex Lindsay and 090. Why do I want you to participate in the Mukana chat? Well, the reason I want you to participate in the Mukana chat today is because we have Mr. Kenn Jordan. And he has a lot of things that he is going to talk about with us today. And I'm afraid we might run out of time. So if you put your question in and your question gets the votes that it needs, then it will be answered on Conversation with Tony Mobley today. If you are not able to participate in the Mukana chat, put your question in and get it voted up. Then you have the option of sharing your question in the YouTube chat area. And so now we are going to get started with our conversation with Mr. Kenn Jordan, my friend who I have never met, but I don't think I could be as close to him as anybody on this planet. And I am so happy to have him on with me as a one-on-one conversation. And we're going to be talking about technology and many things, I hope. And I just want to say, Kenn, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule and your travels to share with us on Conversation with Tony Mobley today. And so before I ask any questions, if you would like, please share with us where you are and what time of day it is.
Hi, Tony. Pleasure being here. It's presently a couple of minutes past 2 a.m, and I am in the south of France, on the border with Spain. I'm actually in my RV or motorhome, and I've been here 5 weeks now, and I'm going to be here for another, well, until July 20th, something like that, for a return
Wow.
back. Yes.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And I just want to say, you have, from what I can see, an awesome setup in your mobile home. I see that PR40
Hmm.
and I see your microphone screen. And just tell us briefly what other tools that you have in your mobile setup.
I have my Mix Pre 6.2. I just have the ATEM Mini Pro. The Extreme is back at the studio in Surrey. I've got my M1 MacBook laptop, and also have an M1 desktop. My uh, Mac Studio is back in the studio. I also have here a 30-inch monitor, an arm. Um, uh, oh, Camera is my Blackmagic 6K Pro. I've got some various aperture uh, little lights dotted around, which I can control from my phone. Um, I think that's it for the most of the tech. That's it. Oh, and I'm also connected to you via my Starlink, which is
Fantastic.
really what's made this possible, because
Wow.
I
So
need internet. So that Starlink is the key.
you guys who are listening may want to ask some questions about that Starlink and how it's working and how satisfied Kenn is with it. Please ask your questions. Please ask your questions. I'm not begging. I'm just saying I'm sure we don't have enough time for all of the questions. So you may want to make sure that you get your question in. And so the very first question is, who is Kenn Jordan?
And this is the question, I'm sure other guests, that this is the one that I dreaded the most, even though I know it was coming. Because talking about myself is not something I like doing, because I'm I suppose, quite introverted, um, a shy person. But what I love doing is helping, powering others to help achieve or even surpass what their goals, especially within technology, and helping people with that. I'm passionate about photography. Cycling is my big passion. That's one of the big reasons why I'm here, because I'm on the Pyrenees, so I can do both mountain biking and road cycling here. And I love tech, as you can tell from my description of all the tech that I have in this RV.
Fantastic. And Chris Clark jumps in right away. Dr. Chris Clark, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Clark. Kenn, how is the work of website design and maintenance changed, comparing your first work in the field with today?
It's been a massive change. The biggest thing is obviously mobile devices. The largest percentage of your web audience is going to be looking at it on a mobile phone. Depending on what area you're in, that can be from 60% up to 80 odd percent from a mobile phone. So making websites, you build websites now to work on the phone first and desktop second, because they say the majority of the audience comes from that. The other biggest thing is people's attention spans are now a lot shorter than before. So it's critical that your website loads as fast as possible. We always try to aim between 1 and 2 seconds, because people's attention spans are very short, and you have to deliver immediately, otherwise they click away. So those are the biggest changes in how we develop websites now. we have to
Can
base
you
it on
can you
that.
talk a little bit about how you are doing some creative things with assistive technology in terms of the new websites that you create?
Yes, the, that's the biggest change for us in how we create and deliver stuff now. The things like ChatGPT um, and text to image services like Midjourney or Leonardo.ai have transformed the way we work. It leaves us a lot more time to be creative. A lot of the almost drudgery and some of the programming has kind of disappeared. We have trained our version of ChatGPT in the way that we build websites. We use um, we do all the stuff in WordPress, and we use a particular framework which is thesis focus, and we have trained our AI in that. So in particular in WordPress PHP with a particular slant to focus, which is the theme that we use, and so that we can then get it to build and develop um, new tools and stuff like that for us. So that has really helped in you know, and us being able to deliver um, for our clients much more, and then we can spend more time being a lot more creative with that. And image generation, image creation through we use ChatGPT to help to generate our prompts. We've got a very long script that we use in ChatGPT so that we can then just put in a word or two. It will then spit out three different very descriptive prompts that we then use Midjourney, which is a text to image AI to help generate thumbnails. That's the next big thing. That's the next most biggest thing. Once you have a website, the most thing of getting traffic to it is through all those different social channels. So, and that's using a thumbnail image, which is now critical. We spend actually probably just as much time thinking up and coming up creating thumbnail images to help promote areas on our clients' websites, because that's how you get traffic to it. It's through promotion, through social channels, because majority of the people, that's how they browse the web now. They go through to their social channel, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and there's where you need to where you need to be to run your promotion to a specific page on your web page through a captivating image with a captivating title. Yeah, because without that, we can build you the greatest website in the world, but you know, without getting you need relevant traffic to get to it, and that's now done through promotions on social channels, social media channels.
Thank you, Ken, so much for that.
Mm.
How has your family shaped who you are in business?
Well, my wife is the biggest support. Yeah, yeah. She without Helen, yes, it would be. Since I went working for myself, since we set up ElmsPark, that was the biggest change for me in not having the normal kind of support structure that you have when you're, you know, running a big agency, and you're running yourself, run your own company and staff. But Helen's been a great support for that. My two brothers, I have two younger brothers, Glenn, who's a year younger than me, and Don, who's 4 years younger than me. They have been great. Glenn, especially, you know, he's my, when I come up with some crazy idea, Glenn is the one who always puts me down to earth. And Don is the true entrepreneur of the family. I can ruminate forever on what to do and what to make, and perfectionist trying to do stuff. And in the time I've been ruminating, Don would have already built it, put it up, and have it running. Might not be perfect, but it's up and out, and that's the key thing. Don is the entrepreneur, but Glenn is my soundboard. He's very and I talk to Glenn. Then he's okay, all right. He puts me in my place. But I love my two brothers.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's talk about, before I ask this next question, I want to ask you this. It occurs to me, you are, and you can tell me if this title is incorrect or not. In my mind, as I see the different things that you have been doing over the last 3 years as part of the Office Hours community, I see you as a global webmaster. Is that an accurate title or an inaccurate title?
In my head, it's inaccurate, but it's when people know what that is. So, a title of, because actually what we do, and what I do particularly as part of ElmsPark is more of a business solving problems, coming up with ideas to improve business. That's really the meat and bread of what we do. The other parts, which are my passion projects, like the stuff I've done with office hours, those are my passion projects. Those are the things that, okay, the other work from our clients, who unfortunately most of them I can't talk about because of the work we do and who they are. They, afford me all these toys, but the stuff that I'm passionate about, that makes me feel, are the passion projects for people who normally wouldn't be able to afford our services, but it's just like for you, like when I did the stuff for some other individuals in the office hours community, done stuff. But those are the ones that actually lead to the kind of the other part of the subject, which is the kind of stress. Stress, not really a word, I suppose. It's more because I suffer massively from ADHD, which I didn't know that I had. Helen was the one who discovered it, because when we were dating or courting, she was then later she thought I was very different. She looked it up and she said, "Ken, I think you've got ADHD." And I looked up and read up about what ADHD is. It sounds, to be honest, and this sounds really bad now, but that's how I thought at the time. I said, "Oh, that's just an excuse for people being, lazy." That's what I thought, because I thought that's. And then I read a piece by one guy who's got ADHD, and I read a story of the kind of things that he did. And when he's saying it now, the hairs in the back of my neck stand up, because it was exactly what I did. And I thought these were things just personal to me. Things like weird things, like when Helen said, when I was saying, "Oh, are we ready to go?" She says yes, but then she has to do something else, and that would kind of drive me crazy. And I was just thinking, "Oh, it's just me." And it was things that I thought were so personal to me, and the way that I behaved, or all the things that I did. I was reading this guy's story, and it was like he was standing behind me, and just he was reading. It's like what he had written about himself was an exact mirror of me. So, okay, there is something in this. And then looking back over if you look back over my work history, the longest job I had was my first real job at Arthur Andersen. I was there when I got that job when I was 19, which is 39 years ago. Yeah, anyway. So because I'm 58, so then we'll do the math. Then that was my first job, and I was there for 3 years. I was running their, well, before I was running their computer graphics department, and computer graphics back in those days were on a PC, um, 320 by 200 with 4 colors from a palette of 8. That's CGA, and then it went to EGA, which was 16 colors, and then VGA. So I've been doing computer-based design from the start, for 40 years. So, and that's every job, but that's all I've done on that time. So, yeah, but I was changing jobs after Arthur Andersen, every other 1 or 2 years, I was leaving and going on to, and realizing that was very much a trait of people with ADHD. You get bored very quickly, and then you look for pastures new and move on. And yeah, that was a big discovery for me in terms of understanding, okay, what I've got, and then being able to try to work around that. Because to me, it's a great gift, because it allows me to focus on things, and I can work 20 hours straight on it. But also the big part of it is, for me anyway, is communicating back, especially if I have to communicate back something that's not positive. I would ruminate over a message, a simple message like saying, no, sorry, I can't do that. I couldn't write that. I would literally ruminate over it for so long that it would be days, sometimes weeks, just to reply back. And in the end, either I wouldn't, or I'd do it so late, or the longer I took over it, the more it built up. I said, oh God, I should have done it yesterday. So, and then I should have done it a week ago. And those things really kind of affected me. That's where anything where big major clients, that's that I'm not messaged directly. We have a team that deals with that, and they call in on me. But obviously for the passion where that we can't afford to use that service, where you're dealing directly with me, that's where the problem is. You have the benefit, yes, you're talking straight with me, but you have the disadvantage of I'm the one that has to message you back. And that's a really big challenge for me in terms of being able to do that. And that's where the likes of ChatGPT have massively helped me. Me being part of here, being kind of taking a break. This is I'm fortunate enough that I'm lucky that I can work remotely. So as long as I have internet access, I can work. So that's fine. And we have this beautiful vehicle here, so we can travel, and I can get back to exercise, which is cycling for me, and that's helped me mentally kind of get past this. And now now have that right that I would normally have when I was running in an agency, and that's my ChatGPT to help me to do this. And it's a great thing to help me to kind of compose messages and stuff like that. And I'm now
Kenn,
to being
can
much
you
more communicative.
Kenn, can you share what advice you might have for those who are listening who may suspect that they have ADHD?
Yes, there is to there's actually a kind of an online test. I know, because I actually built a website for my ADHD coach and developed helped. It's based on, there is a it's normally a kind of a PDF document that you've got to fill in, which obviously for me, you can do it. I can make a better form and do it online, where you can take an online test for free, and that gives a good indication of whether you do have ADHD, and then you can then take the next steps of either getting coaching and stuff on it to move forward. So yes, it is it's more and more recognized now, so it's no longer a kind of to me, it's not a stigma. As I said, to me, it's a gift. I'm so grateful for, because
I think we have
anyway.
I think we have quite a few people that are part of this community that consider it a superpower.
Definitely so, and then you can see that trait in others, and you can kind of now, it's a recognizable thing, and you can see, it really is. There is the kryptonite part of it for me, which, as I said, is the communication part, and that's where ChatGPT has really helped, and that's why, one, I'm on your show, as I was on 2 weeks ago, being more open, and also wanting to be more open about it, because there's still some in the community that I know that can name them, because I built a kind of overpromised and didn't deliver. Richard and Father Greg, those two. Hasmuk I haven't spoken to in a long while, and he's a great father figure to me. And there's the kind of lack of communication or lack of things on that of the whole, which then kind of all spiraled into becoming then really depressed, and then having to step away from it. That's why I kind of disappeared for.
Well, let me reassure you about this, Ken. I know for a fact that all of those people that you mentioned are sensitive to that you needed to take some time for yourself, and we all love you and appreciate you for your genuineness. And I have a lot of stuff that I have in regards to you because of the person who I know who you are. And I just, those people who are not associated with the office hours community may not understand everything that he's sharing right now. But I want to say this to you. Ken has been a role model for me, as I'm older, but he's a role model for me in terms of being a man. And I can say this because this is Conversation with Tony Mobley. He is a role model for me in that my first experience with the office hours community was one where I was presenting myself in the community in a light that was not favorable for me. And I saw myself as a weak link in how I presented myself in this community. And in a lot of ways, I was embarrassed and ashamed. Not because I didn't feel as though I had value. I just didn't feel that I was presenting myself or people who look like me in a good light. And I want to say to Ken, thank you so much for being the person who you are in terms of being able to not only present yourself in a light of knowledge and intelligence and an opportunity for people to learn and glean from you, and having such a giving heart, but also to demonstrate some of the best technology that anybody in this global community has actually been able to share. So I want to say that to you. But I want you to know that the people who you have referenced all care about you and love you. And I'm going to move on. The next question is from Clark Lopez Waterman. What does this conversation with Tony Mobley mean to you?
It means a great deal. Tony, well, Tony knows because Tony has been there for me through the darkest parts that I've been through. The communication that we share has meant, it's really meant, like as Tony said right at the beginning, we've never met in person, but I can't think of a closer friend than Tony. And to me, Tony shows the beauty and power of what Alex has created with office hours, because I said Tony was from a much smaller start, but when I see the progression made, you've actually done it. You have taken what you've learned and produce a show. There's now the 101st episode, and that is the biggest thing. The hardest thing, it's easy, to have, all these toys around me, but to actually, have the strength to present yourself, to have this show and do it regularly is truly inspiring. And, it shows, that really then shows the power that you have, Tony, because what you have done, what you've created, shows that, I couldn't do it. I have all the equipment to be able to do it, but not the, to be able to, but then you do also have a gift in terms of being able to, bring out the best in people, people being able to talk to you openly and freely, and you can have I said this conversation, for me to be the big step for me in my kind of recovery in terms of on this, was Tony's been there and helped, and that's why it was, to me, the least I could do was when to be on the 100th show. It was okay. There's no excuses now. Let's to come on. And then once I broke that part, then because you've asked me, as a few times, would I come on?
Yes, I have.
And once I did being on the 100th show and having that kind of, for me, it was that support, that I wasn't the only one. There were others there. It was like, okay, there's no reason why, I can't come on and be, I'm in a much better place now because of you, and more than happy to have this one-on-one with you.
Well, I just want to say, brother, I love you. I appreciate
love you too, Tony. I truly do.
And this is the conversation with Tony Mobley graphic. This was 3D printed by Jeffrey Powers. This is a logo that my friend Kenn Jordan created for a conversation with Tony Mobley, and you can see it on conversationwithTonyMobley.com. ConversationwithTonyMobley.com is a website that was created and designed by Mr. Kenn Jordan. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Pleasure.
We have another question from Dr. Chris Clark. Kenn, How do cybersecurity considerations shape website design for you and your clients?
Massively. Um, they are one of the first things that we design into the sites that we build. I won't fully go into the details because obviously those are part of it, but it's one of the first things we have to consider, and even more so now. They're getting more and more sophisticated. One of the negative parts of AI, they help do that, but we build our sites from the ground up about with security in mind, so we don't suffer from the kind of normal attacks, or we haven't. We build security is one of the first things that we think about, and how we design and build um, the sites that we do, on how to do that. Yeah, things you can't, we can only mitigate against are things like obviously the kind of spam that you would get if you're on the message boards. You can just mitigate against some of that, but they just get more and more sophisticated. And actually, to be honest, I enjoy the challenge. I think that's why I love the job that I do, because it's always changing. It's changing massively now because of AI. And whereas before, you kind of keep up with AI, there are hundreds of releases every week, something new and stuff on that. It's difficult to keep up, but as said, that's another big benefit of my ADHD in terms of I'm always kept interested. There's always something new, so I love that part of it.
And we have a question from Dan Huber of Erie, Pennsylvania. What excites you about photography today? Do you miss the dark room, enlarger, and smell of developer?
Great question. No, I don't. But I have done that. I got into photography from my dad. My dad was a massive photographer, and he also loved tech. I think that's where all three of us, brothers, are all into photography and tech. It's very much changed now. I used to run a agency called Pixbay, which is a group of London-based photographers, an event photographer. But I could see that that level of photography was no longer needed, or had less of a future. Now we use Midjourney, so I can use my photography eye in terms of crafting that. But for me, that is brilliant. We can produce. Obviously, it is a challenge for if you were a stock photographer. Now we don't use that. We go into Midjourney and generate our own. But I still do take photography. I love photography, and I still like the pictures I take around here when I'm in the cycling in the Pyrenees mountains here, and taking shots to keep as memories of this. So yeah, I love taking photography, but in terms of it as a using it professionally, for us, AI has taken over that for us. We use Midjourney.
I'm curious, what is the most interesting shot that you've taken since you've been traveling?
Interesting. Sorry, part.
What is the most interesting shot since you've been traveling that you've taken?
I think there's one. Let me just have a quick look. I think I uploaded one. Well, not really interesting, but the one that I love the most. This is, I'll put on there. I think you can see that. This is video taken from. This is the view we wake up to every morning. That's actually a video.
Wow.
Slowly. And that's the sunrise over the sea. So, yeah, I love this one because that kind of really shows. That's one of the beauty parts of where we are. So I love that shot, but difficult to say. It's like, there are so many um, so many images, but that one in particular, or that video actually in particular, is something that I like. So,
was that with
that
the
one.
6K?
No, even though I have the 6K one here, that was with the iPhone. The iPhone for me has been, I remember, on a trip when we went to Ireland. That's where my wife's from. Um, I remember I brought all my kit to take this landscape shot, and I had the tripod with a special mount. Had my big Nikon camera at the time to take this massive landscape shot, and spent 90 minutes there kind of doing that. And now with my iPhone, put it onto the wide view, one click, and I'm done, and I can enjoy the rest of the holiday. It now becomes and it's always a camera. It's always with you in your pocket. So that's the main one that I use. Even though, so I've got the 6K one here, but it's just it's perfect for me because I can adjust it so it looks like adjust it for the lighting that I've got and all of that, and but no, the camera that I use the most is my iPhone. So,
which one do you have?
this is the 14 Pro, because of the lenses and taking
Are you
because
going to get
I can travel with that in my pocket.
Are you going to get the Vision Max?
And I saw that. I know there was lots of skepticism on it. My jaw dropped at the quality of that, because that would replace. I was just when can I get it? So yes, I will be getting the Vision Max. It is what I can make a work reason for it, as well as the so for me here in my setup, I can't bring my beautiful 6K monitor, which I have back in the studio, but with the Vision Max, I'll be able to have a full multi-screen setup through it, as well as all the other bits. And also in here, I can't have my massive TV, but I can with the Vision Max. I can have a bigger one, if I'm wearing that for entertainment. No, I just loved that tech. I thought it was, I've become very much an Apple fanboy. I wasn't originally, I was, because my career started on PCs. Even when I was running agencies and all my designers had Macs, I still had a PC, because to me, if you couldn't get to a C prompt, it wasn't a computer. But when I went freelance, or when I started up at ElmsPark, well, actually before that, because when I originally went freelance, we got a massive job doing taking a fashion shoot at a big event. We were taking literally thousands of photographs a day of catwalk models, and I knew that Macs were really good with doing at helping to process photographs. So I remember going to the Oxford Street Mac store, bought biggest Mac Pro, bought a Mac Pro laptop, set it up at home. I'm used to building PCs, and taking them apart and doing that, but this is a work job. We needed to get something to quickly do it. I remember when I plugged in the Mac, took the memory card out of the camera, plugged it in, and it just sucked in those images. They're up there on screen, and as the saying goes, it just worked. And literally from then, said it just took away, it just allowed you to focus on the creative part, and you didn't have to worry about any of the tech. And then from then I've been, it's kind of
it's amazing. I used to be a PC person too. I used to actually, one of my many jobs was that I did computer repair, and I would, pull out
Mm.
PCI cards and replace hard drives and add RAM, and that was one of my little side businesses, and I would do that, for so many years. And I remember the first time somebody introduced me to Apple, and I can't remember which one. It was one of the earlier versions before the iMacs first came out, and oh, that ain't gonna last. That ain't gonna last. That's what I kept saying. And now I'm totally Apple, totally Mac person.
Same here.
And yeah, it's amazing how things change. And I also have quite a few memories of the of the photographic development process, in that I
Mm.
had to develop quite a bit of film, and also I used to develop. Um, I was an offset pressman, and so I used to have to develop film to put on the make plates for the offset press. So I'm real familiar with those kinds of things. So the next question is, please talk about things that inspire you.
One of the biggest inspirations I suppose I had was the inspiring. Depends on there are a number of things. I mean, I was inspired and loved by the whole office hours part. It was um, it was a community of like-minded people, and it was such a when I was more part of it, which I will be coming back to. Um, that really did, because it showed that there was, just a bunch of really good people, and to be, surrounded by that, and to be that, everyone's really, that when you're um, that community of it was really uplifting, to see that, having, a real family of Liberty said, I think she said to me, kind of, we found your tribe in terms of, this is, and I've missed that, as I said, when I stepped away for a long while, that was the hardest part in terms of missing that. But it's so good to be back. And I must say a big thank you, a massive thank you to Roy and Simon, who have been allowed me to be able to do that, because they've been managing and maintaining and now built version 2 of office hours. So a big thank you to those two.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Simon. We appreciate you. We have another question. Well, we have a question from Laura Thompson. Kenn, you talked about things you build into web design at the beginning of the show. Can you talk about how office hours websites change how you look at web design?
How could I forget Laura? She has changed our business. We always built. That's why the theme that we chose does accessibility really well compared to any other WordPress theme. Just if you use it just plain out of the box, it's going to give you good 80% in kind of scoring on that. I remember when I sat down, when I had that one-to-one with Laura, and she showed me how she sees websites. And when she ran through it, and she did it on office hours, which I at the time thought, this is good. This is a good one. And hearing what Laura sees, what Laura hears when she looks at a website, and I thought, oh gosh, okay, we really, really need to up our game. And because of that, I was then because when I get something, I kind of go all in. And I suppose that's another trait, or that's me, I don't know, but I go all in on that. And when I stuck with Laura, I said, okay, we're going to make this website the most accessible website there is. And I then challenged myself to do that. And we did. We made Office Hours.global was the highest scoring, was higher and more accessible than the accessibility website scores. We use the IBM system that does to give the scores about on it. Our site was better than even the accessibility websites and the IBM accessibility website. I was determined to beat that score, and we did. So
That's
thank you, Laura,
fantastic.
for for
Thank you, Laura.
my eyes to that accessibility, and it makes your websites better. It's not just you're making it open for all. It makes it better for all, to put that extra bit of thought in. And thank you, Laura, for that, and for opening my eyes to how you see and others see it, and making us change how we putting that extra bit in to make our websites better and more accessible to all.
And I wanted to invite those who are listening and watching to stay tuned. Laura is going to be leading us in some efforts on Saturdays coming soon. I think June 17th is going to be the first session that she's going to be leading us on. If you have an opportunity, check out officehours.global, and it will be the second hour, I believe, on education it'll be the second hour on accessibilities that Laura will be leading us on. And so I encourage you to make time in your schedule for these Saturdays during the month. We're giving the teachers the summer off. And so it will be 7 weeks of a conversation around accessibilities. And that is going to be led by Laura Thompson. So please check that out if you have an opportunity. We have a question from Clark Lopez Waterman. And his question is, could you talk to us through how you are powering your RV? Are you on shore power or solar or something else?
It's a combination of those. We are presently where we are. We do have shore power, but my shore power is plugged into. We have a very big EcoFlow battery. EcoFlow are this company, I think it's a Chinese company they're making, but they're one of the best. The research that I've done, one of the best lithium battery pack makes. So I've got a very big lithium battery pack here and extra solar for it. So even though we do have shore power, everything that's running through the RV is actually, we're linked in through the shore power, is plugged into the battery, but everything goes through the battery. So if we lose shore power, then everything can charge from the battery. So we can survive almost indefinitely because of the amount of solar, especially where we are present in the south of France, without any power, just going through the battery, and we have enough solar to keep that battery topped up, and then obviously use it throughout the night, and then back in the day we can run 3 days without any solar. So if there was no sun for 3 days, we could still keep running everything we have here. So
wow,
yeah, that's what we presently have.
Can you share a past success and a recent success?
Yes. One of the past successes, so only ones we can talk about. So we did one for a company, I'm sure, and that's still there, called We Are What We Do. They were trying to encourage people to be, and one of the biggest campaigns was to kind of get rid of plastic bags years ago. And I helped grow their audience. They had a reasonably good audience to begin with. They had 50,000, but within 18 months, I got them to 1 million. And we ran a campaign with Anya Hindmarsh, who I didn't know who was. Anya Hindmarsh is a very, if you're into handbags, she makes very high end handbags, and she created. I think I've got one here. It's a bit tatty now. I've got it.
And
This
say that name one more time for me,
Anya
Ken.
Hindmarsh. Anya Hindmarsh. She's a high end fashion handbag designer, and we got. She designed this handbag, this rather tatty now because it's many years ago, to replace plastic bags. So it says I'm not a plastic bag, but it's got the Anya Hindmarsh logo. And this was, we were selling this for, I think it was £5 or $5. And we built a website that we sold this. It was massively successful, so successful that it got copied by, there were a number of fake versions, but funny enough, the fake versions were more expensive than the £5 that this one was. And that was a really big
Wow.
campaign, and that was helping to people move away from plastic bags and have your own. A recent one is I spoke to the client, so she was happy for me to talk about it. Is there's a website called it's rainmakingtime.com, run by Kim Greenhouse, and she had this website and she needed to get it updated, and she was having terrible problems trying to find someone to do it. This is one of my passion projects. It wasn't a work one, and really proud that we managed to um, get it moved over into a much more stable platform. Again, using our favorite theme, which is thesis focus. We moved on to that, and because to me it is a unbelievable resource, because it's like she's got years and years of interviews that she had, and it was, the website would have been gone. It was massively getting attacked. There was whatever. That we built a new website for her and really helped to. She's so grateful for that. We managed to save that, and to me, it's a massive resource of interviews that she's done for decades. Interviewing people who are now past. So yeah, I'm
That's fantastic.
really proud of the work I did for that.
The next question is, what is next for Kenn Jordan?
What was next for me? Um, More cycling. So glad I'm here and get back on my bike again. As with everything I do, I started cycling quite late, but I fell in love with it, jumped headfirst in, got numerous bikes, and used to do, we get back to partly that, ultra distances, be on the bike and and take part in what's called an Audax events, where they're normally kind of 400-500 kilometers, well, as a kind of a standard event, and then they do really big ones. And the biggest one that they organized was to Paris to Brest and back, which is 1,400 kilometers. Yeah, so doing ultra cycling is my thing. And then coming back to office hours. So I'll they allow me back. I'll be on the panel for a few things. I want to do another lab. Once I've done my commitments to Richard, to Greg, talk back to the Hasman, get those things done. And there's some stuff I'm going to be doing for Simon and with Roy. Then, want to eventually get back to doing labs, especially about AI, basically, about how to use AI to help you build and create, really, to up your game in websites. SEO is now, you no longer need an SEO expert. ChatGPT is better than any SEO expert. So
Wow.
you don't need SEO. Nothing can beat ChatGPT for search engine optimization. I should stop using acronyms, to make your site, much better for search engines. ChatGPT can do it for you. We've got the scripts. Happy to share those, and how to get great images from Midjourney, and lots of other things, programming, lots of things we have trained our ChatGPT to do. Happy to share those. So I'll be back soon once I've done my other commitments to running web labs about the good parts of AI and how they can really help enhance your website.
That's fantastic. You're speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know?
My biggest issues are I think I talked about it 2 weeks ago on your show, the kind of divisiveness that everything is either, black or white. There's loads of shades of gray in between, to be more respectful and to listen to other opinions. You don't have to agree, but just be more respectful in, that people can have a totally different view from you without being a horrible person. Just because they might not have the same religion or same politics, they're not a different person. We are all human beings, and we need to remember that and be just more respectful to others and not be so divisive. You don't have to agree, but listening to other people's point of views and being respectful in your disagreements with them I wish, more of us did that. And the office hours community is a great example that it can be done. It's a beautiful community. If you haven't had a chance to join, then you should. It really is a beautiful set of people and a beautiful community that's there. And you can see that we can be all different and share our love of helping people. So
absolutely. And that is officehours.global, officehours.global. And thank you, Kenn Jordan, so much for being with me today. We did run out of time. I know that for a fact there were more questions that did not get asked. And so hopefully we will have another opportunity for you to come on and answer some more questions and maybe even do some labs on Conversation with Tony Mobley.
Definitely. Yes, I'd love to do that.
And we want to thank everyone. Thank you, sir. We want to thank everyone for participating tonight only in YouTube and on the website, Conversation with Tony Mobley. You are able to watch this episode today. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Valued Audio, visual professionals who meet daily on Office Hours Global, hosted by Alex Lindsay. And I wanted to say thank you to our radio listener audience, but we didn't have you tonight, and we didn't have LinkedIn Live tonight as well. But we will share this broadcast we'll rebroadcast this episode. And 2 weeks ago, we had a great conversation, and Kenn was one of my guests, where we had the 100th panel guest Conversation with Tony Mobley celebration. And we want to thank everyone for episode 101 now of Conversation with Tony Mobley. And we can say now, if you have time, please go back and look at the 100 plus episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. And we think you might find something you like and hopefully is helpful to you. Conversation with Tony Mobley can be heard on YouTube and the Conversation with Tony Mobley website. We want to thank Mr. Taylor Sunderhouse and the team behind Conversation with Tony Mobley. And we want to thank you, Mr. Kenn Jordan, for being a part of Conversation with Tony Mobley and for doing the work that you do and for being the person who you are. Conversation with Tony Mobley will return next week on June 14th with Mr. Mike Edwards. Some know him as the Seventh Scroll of Brooklyn, New York. And he talks about health and houses of faith. And we look forward to that conversation. And we want to share with you that Conversation with Tony Mobley is a working lab, and we are going to be doing stay tuned for some new, exciting innovations and changes that we will be doing on Conversations with Tony Mobley. And we ask that if you like, please like and subscribe on YouTube, as well as registering on Conversation with Tony Mobley. We ask you to take care. God bless. See you soon. Bye-bye.